Shedeur Sanders wasn't picked in the first round because they don't need another black quarterback right now. Oh, you think I'm talking crazy? Let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor. Click on what appears to be the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on the little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, what a lot of people have been overlooking with this Shedeur Sanders situation is the fact that there's a guy who happens to be the same color, or should I say race, as Shedeur Sanders, who dealt with this problem a few years ago. And I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind because most people are not paying attention to this. And he plays in Baltimore with the Baltimore Ravens. He goes by the name of Lamar Jackson, right? Remember when Lamar Jackson was when they were drafting, trying to find a place for Lamar Jackson, they were talking about, well, he's a one-dimensional quarterback. I really don't think he's right for this league and all of these things. These are the pundits talking down on somebody who they usually have a bias against, and they coded in this this language about how they don't think he's efficient enough, or he can't throw the ball far enough, and all of these other things that they come up with, right? These are the talking heads. Most of them happen to be white guys, if you will. And so, to be perfectly honest, and so when they begin this conversation, it goes through the algorithmic channels of, and it gets repeated and picked up and so on and so forth. It becomes the topic of sports talk radio and conversations and things like that, right? So Shedeur Sanders is no different. I want you to pay attention to something though. Now, who's won? What color was the quarterback that has won the 3 last Super Bowls? I'll wait. Well, you know what? Let me go. Let me go with these pesky facts. I love these pesky facts, right? The last 3 Super Bowls. Well, let's start with the number one rated quarterback. That's even better. Who's the number 1 rated quarterback according to NFL a quarterback rating in 2024 season leaders? Lamar Jackson. Damn. It's that guy, right, that they talked about that they didn't think, right, would be anything in the league. My gosh. Lamar Jackson is the number 1 rated quarterback, right? And in the top 3, the top 5, you have 3 African-American quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Jordan Love. No shun to Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. Great quarterbacks. But the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL is the very guy that they talk crazy about. How ironic is that? You'll never hear them talk about that from that perspective. Now, back to what I was going to show you before that, I want you to check this out, right? Man, the last 3 Super Bowls were won by what nationality of quarterback? Jalen Hurts in 2024, Patrick Mahomes in 2023, and Patrick Mahomes in 2022. And all 3 of those guys, usually, that's how it works, were the MVP. Shout out to Matthew Stafford also for winning in 2021. I say that to say this. The game has changed. right? In the way African American quarterbacks play. Let's start with Tom Brady also. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, period. Bottom line. The way Tom Brady did it with precision, the 2-minute drill, all of the things that Tom Brady was able to do, the New England Patriots always made sure that they had a hell of an offensive line for Tom Brady to give him the time that he needed. If you gave Tom Brady the time, it was lights out. I don't think no team in the NFL could be. If you gave him the time, and he didn't really have star receivers or those big names, if you will, he had the Wex Welker and, these other guys, but they could run routes and do their job. And so when we talk about quarterback, Tom Brady was the last of those guys that could do it like he did it. The game is changing. Now you need a quarterback in the likes of who? Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, right? I'm talking about somebody who can be mobile in the pocket as to keep the defense on their toes as to whether he's going to run or whether he's going to pass the ball. Because he's a double threat. And the double threat always works more better than a one-trick pony, right? Like I said, if you cannot focus on the things that need to be focused on, like the Patriots did for Tom Brady, it doesn't really matter. As you've seen with the first round, most of the teams chose either defense or offensive players. Because offense may get you to the playoffs, but the defense gonna win you the Super Bowl, along with a great quarterback, right? So now, the Shedeur Sanders argument is this. They didn't need another black quarterback at this particular point. And Shedeur Sanders is a great quarterback, great athlete. But at this particular time, not to say that he won't get chosen in the second round, but at this particular time, they just didn't need another black quarterback. It's simple as that. It's simple as that. That's why New York chose the young man Dart. And like I said, not a racial thing from my perspective in looking at it. I'm calling a spade a spade. This is simply what it is. Like I said, you go back to the Washington Redskins with Doug Williams, right? And if you understand that from that perspective, you go back to the situation, the young man who was before Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was the quarterback, Robert Griffin, right? You go back to him. He wasn't that great. He was good, but he wasn't that great. Jaden Daniels seems to be someone, who's coming up. And once again, Jaden Daniels is what? Let's go back. Jaden Daniels is what? He's top 5. He's top 5. Jordan Love under him. Lamar Jackson, number 1. So like I said, once again, the Shedeur Sanders argument, and just because he's Deion Sanders' son, I get that. But that has no bearing on whether he can go in the league and be productive. And like I said, because it's better for him to go in the league and want to be able to make to be a difference maker right off the hand than him sitting on the sideline. So with that being said, I expected somewhat, if you looked at other than Pittsburgh and the Giants, out of that whole draft, basically, fortifying their defenses. So when you understand that, they didn't need another black quarterback, not at this time. The brothers is dominating the game. They're changing the way the game is being played, and Shedeur Sanders would also add to that. But pretty soon, if you want to win, you're going to need a black quarterback or a white quarterback who can run and who can throw the ball and be mobile on both fronts. You know what I'm saying? And you got a couple of the white quarterbacks in the league that can do that. You know what I mean? So it's not exclusively a black thing, but you're going to be able to have to change your game up from that perspective. But in dealing with us as African Americans, you see the scrutiny in which they place under Lamar Jackson. But you will not hear them tell you today on any sports talk radio show that Lamar Jackson is what? What is he? He's the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL, period. Right? But when he was being drafted, what did they tell you? Well, I don't know about him, right? Now, once again, usually the pundits, when they're talking, they don't talk that way about the white quarterbacks. So we're going to face a different kind of scrutiny, right? But I believe that Shedeur Sanders will land somewhere, and I believe that Shedeur Sanders, coming from the pedigree that he comes from in his father, the competitive nature, the bloodline, right? He was destined to be great. But it's in God's time, right? And you deal with the organizations that you deal with, because like I said, is it the right fit? Are you going to be happy? I look at Travis Hunter down there in Jacksonville. I mean, it'll help. Like I said, if you look at the dynamics of what that means, he's from Florida. You know what I mean? So he will galvanize the Florida crowd, the audience to come to those games. You know what I mean? So it's also economics, right? When Tom Brady went over to Tampa Bay, right? Yeah, people gonna buy 1 million Tom Brady Tampa Bay jerseys. It's just as simple as that. So once again, it's way bigger than most people would argue. I understand that. And like I said, the scrutiny of Shedeur Sanders is unfair, but it's no different from the scrutiny of the quarterback who they talk crazy about, who is now the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL. And he goes by the name of Lamar Jackson. It's just as simple as that. And like I said, 3 out of the top 5, right, is African American. Like I said, and Jaden Daniels, he just got in the league. You know what I mean? So when you talk about what it is and the impact of that, right? And he playing in what they call Chocolate City in DC. So understand that it's way bigger than one could imagine. And like I said, the scrutiny and that Shedeur Sanders is getting, hopefully he'll use that as ammunition, to propel him forward to possibly being one day the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.